All right, as we get started up again, a couple things. First off, I think I went right at the end when we went through this, I went through it probably a little bit too quickly. All right, there were a couple of options, and I think I just skipped through those. One of them asked you about, do you want to use app compact? All right, and is the application compatible with earlier versions? Even if you say, well, I'm not even doing any earlier versions, you want that to be checked, and that should be checked by default. All right. The other one, what was it called again? Instant App or whatever the heck it's called. With that one, I wish I would have turned it on, because what that's designed to do, it's off by default, but if you put it on, if you just check the box, what that says is if you're running your program and you make some superficial changes to it and you tell it to run again, it doesn't go through the compilation process all over again. All right? Okay. Now, a couple things. I'm going to bounce back and forth now between this handout and where we are. So we started Visual Studio Project. This looks a little funky because when I did this, I had to sometimes make it wider or narrower so it would look okay on the screen, just so you know that. And this is early. This is not exactly the way that ours looked. Okay, just so you know. You virtually never in here, unless we're doing that last project, if you look on the screen, you are virtually never going to check either one of these, unless we do a Kotlin project at the very end. All right? Okay. They talk about using that company domain name, etc. So if you want to read that, you can. They talk about using, and with us it was KitKat. Here it's ice cream sandwich to make it compatible with X number or X percentage of devices. Again, there is no guarantee that these are going to look 100% identical, these screens, to what you see. Did you all hear that? All right. In a few minutes, we're going to come in and we're going to build an emulator. I shouldn't even say build, it's just clicking a bunch of options. Sometimes when it comes in, you might see this. For 100% of what we're doing in here, we're going to choose phone and tablet. Now, no one has done this yet, but let's pretend, we are pretending here, that let's say Mr. Hardy buys himself a brand new mini refrigerator, okay? And what he decides that he wants to do is, for his project, he wants to literally be able to talk to that refrigerator. All right? I would expect if he's going to do that, and maybe this is asking a lot, but when you come in to do your project, you're going to bring the fridge in here. See what I'm saying? I don't want screenshots. This is the best app ever. Look, this is how it looks if I could run it. I don't want that. All right? I want everybody to run theirs. But there's wearable stuff, Android wearable. You can set it up for your TV, more and more auto. I don't know if I told you guys, but about a year ago, I don't remember why, but I had to go down and talk to one of the automotive people. And I introduced myself. I'd never met him before, and he asked what I did. And I told him, and he said, oh, did you know that we give, that when as soon as our technicians, mechanics, whatever, start, the first thing they get is a tablet? And he was showing me the Android tablets they get. And he said that they can do stuff now with checking out sensors, etc., so much faster, so much quicker, so much better and more accurately than when they did them manually. All right? Okay. And has anybody ever heard of IoT? A big I, a little O, and a capital T. Has anybody ever heard of that? That's the Internet of Things. The idea is virtually sometime in the future, almost everything is going to be programmable. All right? Now, I'm going to tell you this is no joke, and I'm not being morbid because it'll happen after I'm dead. But if you told me that probably not even during your lifetimes, but during your kids or your kids' kids, they're going to also put programmable chips in people, I'd believe it. I think that day will come. I mean, they put them in dogs now, for example. I don't know, do you ever put them in your horses? I don't know if you never have a problem, do you? But, when you think about it, if a child is born and you put a chip in them right away, it's going to make it a lot harder for people to come in there and try to steal a kid out of a hospital, for example. That kind of stuff. All right? Okay. Sometimes when I say that to people, you're just, one time first, you're just a sick bastard. Okay, whatever you say. You know, I think it'll happen. I said years ago that they were going to put them in animals first, and I had people laughing at me. You know, but it's being done now. So, all right. The minimum SDK, again, declares the minimum Android version under which your app will run. Okay? All right. Choosing an activity template. All right? So when we went through here, what did we do? We chose empty activity. Again, this looks funny because I had to stretch it and make it bigger and smaller to get it to fit on here. All right? But we just chose the empty activity. Notice, you may or may not have noticed, these two have flipped position from where it showed it here and where it is now. And there are other ones too. Again, I'm not going to go over any of this stuff. When you do this, I didn't have you do it. Please look on the screen. Again, yours may not have looked exactly like this, but you'll see something that looks similar to this sooner or later. There are two major files that you work on. It's actually three, but for now, there's two major files that you work on in an Android project that has one screen on it. This, where it says activity name, that's your Java file or your Kotlin file. And I believe Kotlins have a dot, it's either KOT or KLN extension. I don't remember which it is. All right? And this one is your layout file, how it looks on the screen. There'll actually be two of those that you'll see in just a minute. All right? If this is checked, and it is by default, you always want this checked. If this is checked, it means take this and generate this. Take this and generate this. I suppose the only time you may not want a layout file would be if for some reason you made an app that had no interface. I don't know if, I'm sure there are probably apps out there that don't have an interface. I can't think of one right now. All right? And this is that backward compatibility that I said. App compat. This used to be the biggest pain in the butt with working with Java. This was always screwed up. When I used it last year, not a person, no one, including the instructor, had any problems with it. All right? I'm hoping that continues this year. All right. Now, it says exploring a project. Before we even do that, we're going to look at all this stuff. But I'm going to jump back into here. All right. Why? Because I just want to show you a few things that are here. All right. Now, the stuff that's in here is going to change depending on what your screen looks like. Please look up on the screen. Feel free to try this if you want to, and not try it if you don't want to. See where this says Android? That's probably what yours says. Yours might say something else. Click the down arrow. And these are the different views you can have of your folder structures. You'll probably either choose Android or you'll choose Project most of the time. All right? You'll probably use either Project or Android most of the time. All right? Luke asked a question before when we made that name and I put in edu.rankin, etc. Notice what's at the top here. That package name that we put in. That'll make more sense as we go on in here. So this is called, some places call it the folder area, the project area. That goes by a lot of names. I already showed you can make it as wide or narrow as you want. You can remove it, turn it on, turn it off at will. All right? Now, please look up on the screen here, because we're going to change our screen right now. So everybody, please look. If this is what yours looks like, if it is, if you've got main.activity.java right there, click the other file that says activity_main.xml. Click that one. It may look like this, and it may even look different. Either way, don't worry about it. But I want to show you it's another window. All right? Believe it or not, this little thing that's right here, see this? They call it the palette. That's our toolbar. So Chris says, I don't even know what it is, but man, I like buttons. You could either do this, and you could literally double click and it would put a button in here. You can click on here and drag and it'll put a button in there. All right? But let's say that button didn't show here. Are you all with me? It didn't show here. And Chris was getting really frustrated because he didn't know where the heck buttons were. You can always come in here and click, look on the screen, right there. That is your search bar. So you can click on the little magnifying glass, and then in here type in button. And then it shows you the different kinds of buttons you have. Does that make sense? Now these tools that are in here, these controls, will not have the same name as what you're used to from C#. Did you hear me? They will not have the same name. Notice if I want to have a button that holds an image, I use an image button. These are the same radio buttons. Toggle buttons are designed to turn on and off. This is what I mentioned before, that little, remember how I said that those two activities looked alike except one of them had a little plus sign in the bottom right-hand corner? I said that's a FAB. That's what it stands for, a floating action button. So if I want to add one manually, I can put it in. All right? I'm just trying to show you a couple things. I'm going to go back here to all. Let's see, where do I go? I can go in here and let's say, because I want to show you these. All right? We've got what's called an edit text. All right? You go, there's nothing in there that says edit text. An edit text is like a text box. Do you all hear me? Now, this is really important because this is not something you can do this easily in C#. If I decide, for example, I'm going to put one of these on the screen and I go back and I choose number decimal, okay? What that'll mean is when I run the program, that field, when I click on it, it will automatically bring up a keyboard that only has numbers on it. It is impossible for me to put, I can have it blank, which could result in an error, but I cannot put in letters. Okay? Why is that important? Because I'm going to expect that after we go through one or two of these and I ask you to do one, you're going to do it the right way. In other words, if there was something in here that you're going to create an edit text that you're going to call edit text H, put in somebody's H, that you'll set it up as a number field. You won't set it up as an email field or an address field. If you set it up for email, it'll add the @ sign, etc. Phone number is set up for phone numbers. You get the idea. All right? Now, so that is the equivalent of a text box. How about a label? Well, labels are called text views. It's literally called a text view. All right? So edit text because we can make changes to it. Okay? All right. So this is your palette. There's more to say about it, but that's enough to get us started. And again, I can make this bigger, smaller. See that? All right. This is the one. This is called your component tray. This has got every control that's on your screen. That's what shows in the component tray. We're going to add some components in just a minute. Not worried about putting code in there right now. I'm more concerned with adding them and showing you what will happen once we do that. All right? But as always, I don't want to go today till 4 o'clock. I don't know if it's going to be 3:30 or 3:45. I want you to play with this stuff a little bit. Don't worry about putting code in. Worry about getting familiar with the screen and the different things that you can do. All right? Now, as I move over, look over here. I've got this. I don't even remember offhand what this one does. I do know this one that's here that looks like a football. See that? That allows you to go back and forth between portrait and landscape. All right? Most of these, I believe they all have tooltips. This, I've already got an emulator set up. Yours might be empty right there. You might not have anything. You will in a minute because we're going to set up an emulator. Yes?
So if we're building emulators on our laptop, why do we need
Why do you need the device?
Yeah.
Because it's never going to look exactly the same on a device as it looks on an emulator, the way it looks on an emulator. Plus, one of the things we're going to do, and we'll be doing this next week, we're going to be creating an app where you're going to have a couple, we'll have probably 3 screens on it. And also at the bottom, we're going to have a thing in there for emailing and for phoning where you can put in your own number. An emulator it'll act like it's dialing, but it doesn't really dial. And when you go to go out to, let's say that you wanted it to go out to Gmail, because that's, you got chrishardy@gmail.com. So if they email you, boom, it will not do that from an emulator. All right, so it looks different, and there's not total 100% functionality that you're going to get in an emulator either. All right, okay, so again, you can put your mouse on these things. Notice right here, you all see 2 of these? Some of you might have only 1. See what I got on the screen here? This is called design mode. This is called blueprint mode. This is meant to be the schematic view of this. I find that thing, I don't use this very often. So if I come up here where this blue thing is, and I click the down arrow, and I choose design, did you see how the 1 went away? So you can go and have just design show, you can have just blueprint show, you can have them both show. I am never going to look and walk over and go, Abby, why are you doing that? What would I get out of that? Why would I care? All right. Over here it's got 29. It says automatically pick best. I don't remember what that one's for, so I'd be lying. A little later on in here we will be talking about themes. All right. And right now we've got a default theme for our app. It's got a default background color. It's got a default this. It's got a default that. You don't have to worry about it. It's got a bunch of defaults. How's that? All right. But you can either use a predefined theme, all right, or you can set up your own theme. Does this sound bootstrappingly familiar? Because in Bootstrap, you can go out to places like bootswatch.com and grab a theme, but everybody's grabbing from those themes. Or you can create your own way you want buttons to look, etc. I think it'd be fantastic when you create your own app if you create your own theme and don't use a built-in one. Then you have total control over your own colors, your own dimensions, sizes, fonts, all that stuff that you can put in there. All right? All right. Then when you look in here again, I've got app theme. Okay, and you can see I've got some stuff in there. And then next to it, it says default NUS. What you're going to learn from the get-go, like in 5 minutes, is how to create strings and stuff like that. It's not going to probably be the way you think it is. All right? But after we do it, and I explain why, you might laugh and go, yeah, right, like somebody is going to take my app and put it into French. But you make it easier for them to do it this way, the way that I'm going to show you. All right? In other words, for lack of better words, I want to show you the right way to do things. All right? Notice over here we got 18%. At least I do. Notice what happens. See that? Now I'm up to 33. So you can play with that if you want to play with that. Again, you don't have to, but you can. You all notice if you look up on the screen, because we're going to get into attributes in a second. You may or may not be able to even tell what that says. But right in the middle there, it's smack dab in the middle. You've got on there, you've got a text view. So the equivalent of a label that says hello world. Everybody see that? Also, do you see, look on the screen here, up above that, see where it says Constraint Layout? See that? That is the default layout in Android. If you don't like it, there's about at least a half dozen other ones that you could use. Not only that, and I'm not going to get into this with you, I've tried showing this to people before, and people either get it like that or they get totally bewildered, confused, and PO'd. You can put a layout inside of a layout. So I can have my outside set up as a constraint layout. Then on the inside, I can put part of my screen to be a table layout, and another part of my screen to be a grid layout, etc. So you can nest these things. Why is this important, though? Please look up on the screen. I'm going to click on this thing right here. You see those things that are up there, those ugly blue things? That, when you use a constraint layout, That's how you can move stuff around. So I want to show you what I mean. I'm going to click on this thing. I'm just going to put it way over here. In fact, I don't want any of these things to show. So I'm going to hold down on my control key, and where it's blue, I'm going to click, I'm going to click, I'm going to click. All right. Now it's way up in the upper left-hand corner. All right. In other words, what it's known as, it is totally unconstrained. You hear me? Totally unconstrained. You may or may not have noticed it, but look on my component tree. I now have this error here, and it's telling me it's not constrained. So what's the easiest way? The easiest way is to click on it, drag it, and did you see right now how it brought in those snap lines for me, the grid lines? And when I get it down in the middle, it'll show me. Now I'm in the middle. But it still isn't constrained. What does that mean? That means when I run it, it's probably going to bop its way back up in the upper left-hand corner again, even though I put it here. All right. So how do I constrain it? Well, if I click on it, okay, I get these things here. I'm going to grab them. It's going to look funny, but you got to watch for the first time. Okay, I'm going to grab on this one, and I'm going to drag way over here. Now it's constrained, but all the way over to the left. So I got to click on the one on the right, and now it's centered. Does that make sense? And again, sometimes you click and you drag, and it's like, oh, it didn't work. And I've seen people almost belt their machine because they're just getting so ticked. As you're learning this, you have to be patient. All right? In other words, you're not having a test, but when you do have your test, when you build one of these, take your time. All right? So now it's constrained, but it's only constrained horizontally. Does that make sense? Let's see if my message changed. Oh, it went away. Now, if I want to constrain it vertically, I do the same thing. Look on the screen. I go up to the top, and then I go down to the bottom. Now it's right in the middle. All right? I'm not saying I want it there, but I'm just trying to explain that to you. That is totally constrained. Okay? Well, let's say it's pretty cool. It's pretty good right there, okay? Are you with me? It's pretty good, but I want it to be up at the top of the screen. I want it to be constrained, but it's going to be my title. All right, we'll keep Hello World. That's totally fine. I don't care. So we'll keep Hello World on there. We're just going to say that that's going to be the title of our app. All right? So I can now take it, click on here, look on the screen. I can take it, and I can drag it up. See how it's still constrained? So I'm going to put it right there. I don't want it to hit right on top. All right? There are things that are going to happen in here, and you might raise your hand. Tell me why it does this, and I might give you an answer where you think I'm a smartass because it's Android, because it can. But there are times things are going to happen just because that's the way it internally works. All right? So you'll notice it's still constrained. Yes, sir?
Why would you want it unconstrained?
Why would you want it unconstrained? First of all, if you don't use the constraint layout, if you use one of the other ones here, the stuff isn't constrained. All right? But sometimes you might have a really weird setup on your screen where you want this to be over here, but you want this to be down here, and that, you understand what I'm saying? And it can be very hard with a constraint layout. So it depends on, you had a game, and you got stuff moving all over the place, you might not want it constrained. All right? So I've got this, okay? And it's called text view right now. Well, that's not a good name. Because if I create another one, you want to take a guess at what it's going to call another one? Between the two of you, you got it. It's going to call it text view 2. I won't ask if we create another one because I think you get the idea. All right? So look over here, please. See where it says attributes? You see this? Go ahead and click that. This is, for lack of better words, the equivalent of your properties window. All right? And it's different. Please look up on the screen. Because as you start setting properties, they go in this thing. So if you only want to see properties you've set, you can choose declared attributes. See that? Those are just ones that either you set or the system set. All right? Well, the first thing is, I don't like the name. And for this, please look at the screen here. Look at my screen. I don't like the name because I think text view is not a good name. But you have to come up with some kind of a standard. Did you hear me? Let's just say Evan here decides all of his text views, he wants them to start with a little TV. T for text, V for view. That's okay. But however you do it, be consistent. That's it. All right? When I did it, the class that I took an online class. That's how I learned this stuff. All right? I came up here, and they always called it, so this is going to be a title. So I'm going to put in text view title, like that. All right? Now, I didn't do it yet, but you'll notice as soon as I hit enter, that's going to change down over in my component tray. So I put text view title. Capital T, capital V, because that's the way that it's set up by default. Again, if you don't like that, you want to call it TV or something else, I would recommend doing it this way. All right? It can help with alphabetization, etc. But if you don't want to, you're not going to. I'm tired of telling people, you got to do it this way. Because that's saying that I know more than I know the right way all the time. And I don't. All right? So I put that in. Now I'm going to hit enter. See how it changed over here in my component tree? All right. Now I've set my first property. All right. Now, it's got common attributes here. It's got all attributes here. Let's just look at all of them. Here's layout. What the heck is that? Well, by default, when we constrain this, thing, there is absolutely no margin in it at all. Did you hear me? It's going to try to push its way to the ends. Sometimes that can look a little unprofessional. You might want a real light little margin, so I can come in here and say, you know what? I want basically the equivalent of about, it's not really 8 pixels, but the equivalent of really an 8 pixels all over the place there. You may or may not be able to tell, it moved it over just a little bit. And if I really wanted it centered and smaller, I could choose other numbers. All right? Those numbers, all 4 of them can be different. You might get something that looks kind of funky. I suppose if you were making an app for drunks, you might want to do something like that. I don't know. Or people who are high. I don't know. But I'm doing that. All right? So I can always bring that up. Now, I'm bringing up stuff as I see these. All right? You see this? See where it says wrap content? Does everybody see this? If I click the down arrow, it's got wrap content and it's got match constraint. Agreed? I'm going to grab this one and choose match constraint. You see how it changed? When you choose, I've got them both set on here now. When you choose wrap content, it says only use as much room as it needs. So the room it's using right now is based on the fact that I've got hello world typed in there. Originally it only gave me enough space for hello world. That's it. Now I said, since I changed it to from that to match constraint, it says, give me the whole thing, give me as much horizontal as I can. And as you probably guess, if I go to the other one, to the height, and I say match constraint, now that's my hello world. That's how much room it's taking up. You're almost never going to want to do that, unless maybe you had a page on an app with just a button on it or something. You're probably never going to do that. But I'm trying to show you the difference between between wrap content, which says only use what you need. That right there is the width of hello world, but not the height. So when I go back and reset that one, that is now the width and the height of hello world. Does that make sense? That's why I want you to play with it. Because it sort of does. Well, when you start doing it yourself, it'll make a lot more sense. All right? Okay, there's other stuff in here. Notice there's visibility. I'm not going to go into that, especially not right now. All right? I'm going to close this layout thing, and I'm going to open up. I've got common attributes right here. This is the stuff you would most likely change. All right? There's more than this stuff that's here. How do I know that? Because there's another one underneath it that says all attributes. I'm going to click the one that says all attributes. That one, right there. And I'm going to change a few things in here. You can follow me, not follow me. You can grab your own. I want you to start playing with this stuff. Again, that's how you're going to learn. So I'm going to change a few things. First of all, I'm going to go way down into the T's, and I'm going to find the stuff for the text. All right? So I'm going way down by the T's. And do you notice this? See how it says hello world? Every time you do something like that's on there, where you literally go into that control and you manually type that in, your instructor will be taking off. You don't do it like that. So I'm going to show you right now how you do it. But I'm telling you, you don't ever do it like that. Even the text on your buttons, you don't do it like that. You don't do it like that because you want your app to be able to run in different languages. Now, to me, this is like a contradiction in terms, but to have an app that will work in different languages is actually known as localization. But we want to be able to take our app and potentially run it in any language there is. All right? So this hello world, let's just say it goes global for whatever reason. All right? Then we can go in and we can make some superficial additions, and we'll have, instead of having it say hello world, it would say hola mundo. For example, I don't remember much of my Spanish anymore, but I think that's hello world in Spanish. All right? So what we want to do is, I want this hello world, I just don't want it physically typed in there. So if you look on the screen, do you see how I've highlighted it all? See that? I'm going to do a Control X to copy it to the clipboard. All right? Now look on the screen, because we're going to be doing this. You're going to do this probably 1,000 times in the next 15 weeks. I'm not exaggerating. You're going to click over here. It's not an ellipsis, but notice when I click what happens. Brings this up. Does it have a name? I'm sure it does. I'm not sure what it is. But we want that to come up. You see where it's right now it's got the app name and it's got a bunch of settings that we haven't set but the system has. All right. What we want to do, if you look up in the upper right hand corner, do you see where it says add new resource? Everybody see that? Click the down arrow by where it says add new resource. Come on. Oh, you. Why? There we go. All right, then don't click the arrow, click the words add new resource. I want it to where it comes up and it says new string value like this. And once it does, I want you to click on new string value. What you'll notice is you're going to get a little box in here. All right? See that? This is how you set up strings, all of your strings. All right? The name, well, this is going to be my main title. Do you agree with that? I would suggest when you name things, do not use blank spaces. I wouldn't even use underscores. I'm going to call this main title, and I'm going to use camel casing. Little M-A-I-N, capital T, little I-T-L-E, and I'm going to run the two words together. Why? Because this is my main title. All right? So I'm going to put that in. Now I'm going to paste back in, or you can just type it, hello world. All right? That's how you set up a string resource. What did that do? I'm going to show you it in just a minute. It did more than you probably think it did. All right? So what did I do? I clicked the little bar that was along the side here. I removed the string that was in there. I clicked on where it says add new resources. I gave the resource a name, and I gave it a value. All right? The source set, you really shouldn't have to play with this stuff at all. We're going to look at this file in just a minute, strings.xml. We're going to look at that in just a minute. All right? If you've got all that, this is just the string you want in there. That can have spaces, that can have numbers, letters, special characters. Don't do that in here. All right? So I'm going to click OK. Now, please look up on the screen. Notice how this changed. It's telling me that now this string that belongs to this text, it's defined in a file. At string means it's defined in a file called strings.xml. I'm going to show you it in just a minute. All right? And it's called main title. So in other words, rather than showing the value, it shows you a path to the value. Does that make sense? All right. So we've got all that, fine, dandy, whatever. Well, then how the heck do I find it? You come over to here. All right, you come over to here, and what's it under res? I don't remember. Yeah. Under your folder right here, near the bottom, that's called res. See that's short for resources. Click the arrow, and then under the bottom where it says values, click that arrow. Did you see what I did? Did I do it too fast? All right. And notice there's a file in here called strings.xml. Double click and that file will open up in your editor. The one that we set was the second one. The one that we set was the second one. The one for the app name, that's the one the system set. Did you hear me? What some people choose to do is they make all their strings first and put them in this file. That's another way you can do it. All right? I'm showing you the way that probably most people do it. Now, if you look up on the screen, there's 3 files in here. I've shown you one of them. This holds your strings. The one underneath it, that holds your styles. It's telling you right now that what we are using are the default styles. App theme. Okay, so it's showing us what we have in there right now. All right. This file, if you don't know it, this file, if you look on the screen, and the one we just looked at, they're XML files, extensible markup language files. Now, if you're like, I can't even read this, you can drag it over, or I can take this and put it on 2 lines if I want to. What you cannot do, you cannot break up a string that's in green and put it over multiple lines. Actually, you can. I just don't want to get into how you do it now. All right? But it's telling us that this is the theme we're using, and these right now are our colors. Well, I don't like those colors. I can go in and change them. I can go into my other XML file here called colors. That's where those 3 are defined. Okay? So I can come back in here and look at this. I'm going to come in just so you see it. I'm going to put in color, name, equal. I'm just going to call it color white. And I'm going to say pound, FFFFF. It's hard to tell, but you can see where that thing is. It is white, but it's on a white background, so it's very hard to tell. So let's put in one that we should be able to see easier. As you might guess, I'm going to use black. I get an error because I now have 2 color whites. And I'm going to make this one all zeros. Okay, I'm not sure why it's not giving me a color there. All right, but we'll get there.
You need another 0.
That could be. I don't have enough F's and I don't have enough zeros. Could be. Yep, there it's white. Thank you. I love that when I screw up and somebody actually sees it. All right, so thank you. So there's white and there's black. We can define any colors. I'm not going to do it now, but it's possible. You can bring up a color palette. Okay, and you give colors your own names. This is the kind of thing that you're going to do when you are developing your own project and you are setting up your own theme. All right, that's the kind of thing that you are going to be doing. All right. Okay, so I didn't do this before, and I know I'm jumping back and forth, but I want to show you something. This right here, this thing that you see right here, this has your colors in it, it's got your strings in it, it's got your styles in it. It is possible other things can go in there. I don't think we'll put anything else in there, but some people put menu stuff and whatever in there too. Then notice up above that it says MIP map. Okay? Have you ever noticed? Maybe I can show it to you on here. In fact, I know I can. Where is it? Oh, okay, I'll do it in there. Right? You ever seen this before? That? Sometimes you'll get this, but usually it's like this. That is what's called the default launcher icon for an Android app. The problem is if I've got 30 apps and I don't change the icon, they're all going to have different text, but the app will look the same for each one of them. All right? What we'll do, probably not today, but probably tomorrow, is we'll start to build a simple app. And then one of the things that we'll do eventually is we'll change that default icon. Not hard to do. The point is, the reason I'm telling you that is it's put inside of the MIP map. So right now, this is your launcher stuff, etc. That's the default stuff that's in there. Okay? All right. Now, this is your layout folder. And that, see that activity main? That is this one. So if for some reason you ever close this, you can double click and bring it back. Does that make sense? Some people have, after a while, you've got 10 or 11 things open here. It's very hard to jump back and forth. You're not seeing everything or whatever, so you can close things and bring them back. Now, that's not a big thing, but what I want to show you what is a big thing. You know right now this is what we have, right? I showed you how to change a few things, but I've shown you how to change those using your attributes window, or what's the equivalent of our old properties window. Please look up on the screen for this. Down here, you see where it says design, and next to it says text. Everybody see that? I'm going to click where it says text. This is the same thing, but rather than showing it to me visually, it's showing it to me in XML. I can go and set up an interface totally in XML, or I can do it totally visually. I will tell you, most people, when they are learning, use design mode. But whether you believe it or not, most people who know how to set up an interface use text mode, because you can go like this and set it up that fast. All right. So for instance, if I wanted to, underneath this, I could come underneath here. Is that in there? Yeah. And I could say button. Boom. All right. Now, I'm not sure why it's giving me that, but the point is, what I can do is I can get that to set up a button here then. All right, so there's a lot of different ways that you can do the same thing. And if you said, well, which is the best? That's why you need some time to play with this stuff and try different things. And it's not what's best, it's what's best for Luke. It's what's best for Abby, etc. The way that Chris and Christian set these up might be totally different. That's fine. All right? They should do it, each person should do it in the way in which they're the most comfortable. All right? And just finishing this up then, up above layout, we've got drawable. Anybody want to take a wild guess at what goes in drawable? Drawable, your images go in there. Okay? And it works pretty nice. Typically what Android will do is it'll scale your images. So I mean, if I've got an image that's 2,000 by 3,000, ain't going to fit on a phone. And if I put it inside of here and I bring it out in an image view, it'll scale it down and it'll look pretty decent. All right? We're going to see some of that. One of the things that you are going to be required to do for next week is have a picture of yourself. All right? Probably the one you're using for your portfolio, but if you want a different one, it's fine. It should look professional, because we are going to build an app that's going to have your entire resume on it. And we're going to put graphics and a bunch of other stuff in it, and now it's going to be available. Maybe we'll take that one and we'll put that one out on the Google Play Store. I don't know. All right? Okay, so that's everything in res. Look on the screen, please. See where it says Java here, and it says generated. All right? It's got a couple things like, what the heck is this stuff? These are internal build files that, for lack of better words, I'm not putting it well, pretty much are going to work when you go to compile the program. You should never have to touch those. I would recommend never touching those. All right. Then we have this Java folder right here, the non-generated one. Okay. This edu.rankin.jp, that is our package right there. The only thing that's under our package right now is this. And that right there is this. It's our code. So if our code goes away and we want to bring it back up, we just double click there, boom, it's back. All right. What else do we have here? Well, look on the screen. Everybody, please. If I click by the arrow here that says manifest, one thing in there, one of the most important files in the entire application. It's called the Android manifest. If I bring that up, this is, for lack of better words, got my system settings in it. All right. It's got my package name. It's got my application settings. It's letting me know what's in the application right now. As we go and add additional screens, this will get bigger. All right, we'll put more stuff in here. For now, that's a good enough introduction for you. All right, so I'm going to close this manifest. I'm going to close my colors. I'm going to close my styles. I'm going to close my strings. So the only thing I still have open is my activity main XML. And I'm going to go back to design mode there. And I've got my main activity. Okay, just those. And I'm going to go back and I'm going to again click on this text view that right now pretty much all I've done to it is rename it. All right. If you would please look up on the screen. Started to go through this before, but then I got off on my own tangent. I'm going down here to text again. Why? Because there's other stuff here. Okay, I can change the text color here if I want to do that. I can scale, I can size. Look on the screen if you would. Over here by text size, it says 14 SP. I always get SP and DP mixed up. I think I'm telling you right. If I'm wrong, I'll tell you later. But I'm 99% sure I'm right here. SP is for text. SP is short for scalable pixels. It will scale. All right, look on the screen, please. See how it's set to 14? Everybody see this? I'm going to click the down arrow here, and I'm going to change it to 30. And now look on the screen here. Is it pretty obvious what I just did? See how it got bigger? All right. So if I want to, I can come in and I can change the color of this. I can go down to where it's got, is it style? I always forget. Nope. I can go down under my text, and I can set, there's other things that I can set. I can make it bold, etc. All right, we're going to get into all that stuff. It's not that important now. All right. Now, if I go under declared attributes, please look up on the screen. You see now I've got some stuff here. See that text stuff? It moved that stuff from where it was under all attributes. It moved it to declared attributes. The reason I'm telling you that is I've seen that before where people are like, I can't change my text. It's missing. It's just not here. No, it moved it from all attributes to stuff you've already declared. That's all. All right. All right. Now, we're going to try something. It's possible that what I'm going to show you now isn't going to work. If it doesn't, I'm sorry, but we're just going to try something just to see if we can get it to work. We're going to add two more things. Now, yeah, two more things. And then we're going to attempt to run it. And when we do that, you will be then creating your emulator. All right. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to come up here. Okay. And I don't care how you do it. You can click on, I don't know. You can click on text. You can come up here and you can type in edit text. Do it whatever way you want. I'm going to go over to the side here and I'm going to click on text. All right. And then I'm going to go and I'm going to find the one that says plain text. I'm just going to drag it in here and I'm going to put it pretty much right underneath my title. It's not perfect, but you can see what it looks like. All right? I'm going to go till about 3, and then we'll take another break. All right? So, first thing I want to do is I want to constrain this. So I'm going to click over here, and I want to constrain that, and I want to constrain that. All right? Now I'm not done because I still have 2 more constraints. Look on the screen. I don't want to drag that up to the top, but I actually want it to be constrained so it's right under this. Can you see what I mean? I want it to be right on the bottom of my hello world. So I'm going to click there and I'm going to drag until it touches. And sometimes that happens. That's not what I want. I'm going to do a Control Z to bring it back down. I'm going to try to bring it up again. All right. Did it work? I don't want it to do that. I don't want it to do that. I'm going to take this and literally click on it and drag it down and try to do it like this. I want to click right here. Nope, didn't work. See, like I said, it doesn't catch all the time. There. It's not giving, I want it to give me a message, and it's not giving me the message. Usually what it says here is, where do you want to constrain this to? Look on the screen. It'll say, do you want to constrain it to the bottom of this or the top of this? 100 times out of 100, you always want to say, constrain it to the bottom. If you don't do it to the bottom, it's going to cover the control up. All right? We don't want that. So.
Oh, you have to drag it like onto the actual text. That's what I did.
All righty. So Tom is saying drag it onto the actual text. Let's go back and redo this. I'm going to hold on Control and click so that constraint will go away. There, it's gone. You said put it on the text. Okay, that's not what I want.
No, like have the arrow on the text, it'll highlight.
Have the arrow on the text. Okay, let's try it again. There, you're right. That's what we want. We want top to text view title bottom. Don't choose top there, or it'll cover that up. Thank you. Now I can do this though, just so you see this. I can grab this now and I can drag it up, and it's still going to be constrained. Okay. What I want is we're going to set this up right here. So we're going to put our name in here. See this? We're going to put our name right here. And then we're going to have a button here, and when you click the button, it's going to show you a message on the bottom of the screen. So Evan runs it, and he puts Evan in here. He clicks a button, and it's going to come down on the bottom of the screen and say, hello, Evan. Now, again, I realize not a fantastic app, not one you're going to sell. I get all that. All right? But let's do a couple things here first. I'm going to click on this, and I'm going to call it Edit Text Name, because this is where I'm going to enter a name. Did you all hear me? So I called it Edit Text Name. All right? Now I want to do a couple more things. First of all, after I do that, I put in Edit Text Name and I hit Enter. Notice it changed here in my component tree. Okay? It's giving me this error. It's a warning that says hard-coded string should use our string. Remember that? We're going to do that in just a minute. So don't worry, that error will go away in just a minute. All right? Please look up on the screen because there's something I want. This is fairly important. Notice if I go down to text, see where that says name? What I do not want to do right now, I don't want to do this. I don't want to say remove it and then go to here and then go to here. I don't want to do that. Instead, and you all know what this is, I want to provide a hint. So I want to remove where it said name under text. I removed the where it said the word name under text. Now I'm going to go in here under all my attributes, and I'm going to find the attribute that says hint. All attributes should be in here. There we go. And there's hint. I'm going to type in there. Now, I don't want to say enter name here. I don't want to do that. I want to create a string resource that does that. So, even for my hint, so I'm going to take this, remove it, I'm going to click again off to the side, and I'm going to click where it says Add New Resource, and I'm going to choose New String Value. All right, I'm going to call this what it is. What do I mean? It's an edit text for my name. So I just called it edit text for name. Maybe that's a stupid name. What I would like you to do is to come up with some kind of standard when you are naming things that make sense to you. I'm never going to look at your code and go, oh man, Chris, that was stupid. No, because that's the way he did it. And if it makes sense for him, it isn't stupid at all. All right? So I now got enter name here. I'm going to click OK. Okay, you can't tell, but it does say it now. Two more things that I want to do for that. I'm going to go down to text. And I want to set first the alignment. I want the text that's in there to be centered. So I went down with this highlighted. I went down to text alignment, and I'm choosing center. It is now centered on the string. I know it's hard to tell, but it is. And next, I'm going to go down to text size, and I'm going to set it to 24. All right. Now, that may be hard to see, and that's okay. Do you all remember when we did HTML forms? Remember what hints were? Remember when you'd set something up like in a text box, it would say like, enter your name here, and as soon as you put your mouse in it and start typing, that would go away? That's what a hint is.
Like placeholder text?
Exactly. I couldn't think of the name. Thank you, Mr. Young. It's a placeholder. All right. Now, if you don't want to do that, we could have put a label off to the left. But remember that when you're working with a phone, you've got limited space. All right. So I did it like this. Let's make our button, and then we're almost ready for another break. So I'm going to come over here where it says buttons. I'm going to find a button, and I'm going to drag that and put it down below. That's not bad. It's not perfect, but it's not bad. And I'm going to immediately change the name. All right, I'm immediately going to change the name. I'm just going to call it button. This program's not really calculating, but I'm going to call it button calculate anyway. All right. Not a perfect name. I understand that. All right. Now, what do we want to change? We want to change what you think we'd want to change. We don't want the text to say button. So I'm going to remove that. And guess what? I'm going to click over here again and make, yes, yet another string resource. By add new resource. All right. Button. I don't know, I can just say calculate button, whatever. And its value will be the word calculate. All right. The size of the button, please listen to this, by default. Look up on the screen here, please. By default, the size of the button is predicated on the text you have in the button. So what if I have 3 buttons, and one says hello, one says enter your name, and one says goodbye? Then one of them is going to be this wide, one's going to be this wide, and one might be that wide. You can manually go in and make them the same size if you want to. All right. So we've got this. Again, it sure as heck isn't perfect. Let's constrain it. So I'm going to click on the button. I'm going to move over to here to constrain it there. Move over to here to constrain it there. Now 2 of them are done. All right. And now I will try to do what they said I should do before. And that is to bring that up. As you can see, I'm not the most nimble person in the world. I want to constrain that to the bottom of this. I'm also going to constrain this. Look on the screen, please. I'm going to grab the bottom one and push this way down. Now, it moved it way down there. I don't want it there. But I do have it constrained in all 4. Now I'm going to take and click on the button and drag it back up again. By no means is this a beautiful interface. All right? It is, in my humble opinion, acceptable. Let's do one more thing. All right? Let's do one more thing. And that is, please click on here where it says Constraint Layout. So please click on there. Right where it says the word Constraint Layout. All right? And let's go over and find background. Notice you get a little eyedropper there. Click here. Okay, it's like, well, that doesn't show us very much. Click where it says Android. You can pick out something there if you want to, but I think I always forget theme attributes. Yeah, let's just, for now, let's pick a color out of here. Okay? So I'm going to just pick color error and click OK. See what happened? See the screen? Yes? All right. I should hit myself in the head because those are Chicago Bear colors, and I can't stand the frickin' Chicago Bears. But you get the idea, right? So you can set that to anything that you want to. All right. So we've got that. Now, if we run this program right now, and that's what we're going to do, yes, even before we put any code in, but if we run this program right now, all right, and let's say we set up our emulator and it runs. This is the exact same thing as setting up a program. This is the same thing as setting up a program in C# where your button will look like it's pushed in, but nothing will happen because there's no code. That should make sense to all of you. All right? Now, what I'm going to do is I just want to show you this, okay? Don't do it yet. I'm going to do this because I already have an emulator set up. Okay, so I'm going to click that green button right there. If you do it, it's going to ask, it's going to tell you don't have an emulator. But I'm going to show you how to set an emulator up in just a minute. So it says right now, Gradle building running. When that stuff is running, don't start monkeying around with the screen or anything else. That means the system is taking over and it's building your program right now. All right? It's reconciling what has to be reconciled in the back, etc. All right? So now it tells me that it completed successfully. Notice again, I can make it a little bigger, smaller. Now I'm going to click that again. Emulator panic. Could not find. Well, that's not good. Please define. Oh, man, I've never even seen that error before. So that is not good. All right. So we'll try doing it the other way. I'm going to go to Tools. You can all do this. Click on Tools up in your menu. You only have to do this once. Now we're taking a break. You only have to do it once, though. Click on Tools, and right underneath it, there's two things. I want to show you them both. First, don't click on this. If you go to Sdk Manager, that will show you any updates you should make to your software. Occasionally you'll have something, and I showed this before to Luke, you'll notice these are partially installed. Remember when I started doing that before and then I stopped? I think that's these two. All right, I don't want to do that now though. I want us to choose Tools and use the top one, AWD Manager. And AWD is what's known as an Android virtual device, hence the name, AWD. Yours is probably empty. All right, I'm going to click on this one, and I'm going to remove it. Now I should be like yours. I don't have anything there either. Yours might look like this. All right? And it doesn't matter if it's full-size screen or partial-size screen. It's going to work the same way anyway. If you have this, click where it says the plus sign, Create Virtual Device. For this class, virtually 100% of the time, you will choose phone. Now, if Chris says, I'm building a game and it's for a tablet, by all means, choose tablet. All right? But I don't think you'd ever have to do wearable or TV. So I'm going to use phone, and I'm going to grab one that I know I don't have. I don't have any now, but I'm going to grab, how about the Galaxy Nexus? It's about halfway down. Doesn't matter which one you grab. It really and truly doesn't. You're like, I don't like that phone. Then don't grab that phone. What kind of phones are not on here? Anything Apple is not on here. Hard to believe.
They're on the Samsung?
They used to. I didn't see one on here, though, when I did it before. Okay, so again, I just chose Galaxy Nexus. Okay, that's fine. I'm going to choose Next from down here in the where my buttons are. All right, and it says what API level do you want for that? So notice it says if I want to run it, that right now it's only designed to run Oreo. It's not designed to run these newer ones, Pi and Q, evidently. All right. So if I wanted those, I would click on the download button and it would begin a download process. I'm not going to do that. All right. So I'm going to click Next, and it says, what do you want to call it? It gives you a default name.
Which one did it look
I didn't choose anything here. I just left it the way it was.
Yeah, we don't have any.
Yeah.
You don't have anything?
No.
Okay. Wow. Yours is totally empty right here.
Well, we have no, we haven't. We just don't have it downloaded.
Oh, then download it. I mean, I've done so much on these things that I forget sometimes what I had to go through to get here.
Download all.
Just grab the top one and download it. That should be fine. Grab the one that's the highest up and download that one. Now, how long is that going to take? I don't know. It might take seconds. It might take minutes. But while you're doing that, just look on the screen, please. I'm choosing Next. This is where you can rename it. I don't care what you name your emulators, but if you're going to have a boatload of them, you probably, like in here, I don't care about the API 27, but I probably should call it Galaxy Nexus or something like that. See what I'm saying? So I'm just going to leave that name there. And I'm going to click Finish. And it's creating the virtual device. There it is. All right. Hopefully now when I run it, it's not going to give me that error it did before, but we'll see. Because if it does, I've never seen that error, so I'll have to try to debug it. If it works, what you're going to see is down here, I'm going to get a new icon. There's my phone. I've been getting this lately. I'm not worried about that. It just says I should be doing an upgrade I'm not doing. So there it is. That's an emulator. You're like, well, it doesn't look like much. It has to load. The suggestion, please listen to this. You don't have to look, but please listen. The suggestion is you create one or more emulators, but the one you're going to use when you start a session, so like when you come in here at 12:35, start up the emulator. This thing can be unbelievably slow. I mean unbelievably slow. Not only that, most people keep their emulator up and running during their entire session. Not that you have to. All right? So, it's still loading. You can move it around. You can hide it if you want to. All right? I will tell you why this is happening, just so you know. There will be times, Christian will raise his hands. How do you do this? You know what? I don't have a flippant clue. I don't. But I'll just tell you to look it up. All right? Google it or whatever. So it's very hard. I should have changed the text color, but that does say something. I'm going to click in there and I'll put in Jeff. All right? Again, it's hard to tell if this should be bigger. Okay? And notice I manually did it from my regular keyboard. But as soon as I clicked in here, this is a soft keyboard. J, E, F, F. If I want it to go away, just click this down arrow button way to the left, and it's gone. All right? And we'll put some code in. I'm going to show you 2 ways of putting code in after the break, where when we click this button, you'll get a message down here. So if I put in Jeff, it should say, "Hi, Jeff." I know that's not much, but it'll let me show you how to put in code to react to a button click, 2 ways of doing it, and it'll show you it's called an Android Toast. All right, it is 3:01. Let's come back. Let's make it 3:16. All right, we will pick it up at that time.